Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. Got a new property going live on the website this week, guys. This one is right outside of Alamogordo. If you're one of these people who comes to our website all the time because you live up in the Northeast or Michigan or Wisconsin, you're looking for a warm place to move to, warm place to retire, this may be ideal for you. Additionally, if you've been relocated for work to Alamogordo or even for military service, if you serve at the Holloman Air Force Base, we got some land right outside of town, very close to both, that I think is going to interest all of the aforementioned parties. So with that said, let's get to the details. This is reference number OTNM-7006. This is located in Otero County in the southern part of the state. It is in the Southern Cross Subdivision, and it occupies a scooch more than 2 acres, 2.10 to be exact. And as you saw up top, these 2 acres are priced at $18,000. For the record, guys, $9,000 an acre might sound expensive, but when you see how close this is to town, that price is probably going to make a little more sense to you. Additionally, as you can see from the headline, power and utilities, and as we say, just minutes from Walmart, which is my way of saying just minutes from town. So let's pull it up on a map, show you guys exactly where this is. As with all of our listings, we got GPS coordinates down here. Click any one of them, and up on Google Maps, the property shall appear. So this is the subject property right here. Before we get to that, let's pull back a little bit, give you a sense of where this is within the state of New Mexico. So for those of you who are not familiar, Otero County is one of the largest counties in the state, occupies a great deal of land. It's down here in the southern part of the state. Texas borders it to the south, and it occupies really just all of this sort of square that I am outlining on the map right here. The subject property sits roughly about 2 hours outside of El Paso, and let's say an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes outside of Las Cruces over here in neighboring Doña Ana County. Additionally, as we zoom in on the property, you can see that it's in close proximity to a number of attractions. First off, Otero County, as far as major towns in Otero, you've got Cloudcroft over here, you've got Tularosa over here, but the big one, home to about 37,000 population, is Alamogordo. And if we zoom in on that and go to satellite view, you can kind of get a sense of how densely populated this is. A lot of people living out here. Anyway, in addition, very close to the property is this giant splotch of green on the map. This, of course, is the Lincoln National Forest, which occupies a large swath of land. I want to say over 1 million acres. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's something like that. Of course, this area is home to a number of species such as elk, mule deer, wild turkey, black bear, antelope, and of course, there's some special hunting expeditions you could go on up there, guided tours, or you can hunt lynxes and some other critters. Additionally, if you're not a hunter, of course, there's about 1 million campgrounds, picnic areas, trails that you could take advantage of out here. And of course, the Lincoln National Forest is roughly only about 20 minutes east of the subject property. Additionally, you've got White Sands National Park right here. White Sands, if you're not familiar with it, Google it. And it's a sight to see. And it's one of the most iconic regions in New Mexico, and probably one of the most frequently photographed, one of the most photographed areas in the state. It's a really gorgeous area out here, white sand dunes everywhere. And that is less than 20 minutes from the subject property as well. Whatever the case, the subject property sits right here. We talked about Alamogordo, but it should also be noted that Tularosa is up here. This property sits roughly equidistant from both if we measure distance to Alamogordo as the crow flies, roughly 6 miles. It's not that much different going up to Tularosa. And of course, Highway 54 right here, which connects you to both, is within easy driving distance of the property. Anyway, if we zoom in on this, guys, you will see that the subject property sits right here off of Old Spanish Trail, just south of Danley Ranch Road. Danley is a paved road. Old Spanish Trail is, dirt and gravel, well-maintained dirt and gravel. And this outline that you see right here is the subject property itself. Don't believe me? Go back here to the listing page, scroll down, and you will see that we not only have our typical Google Earth overlay of the exact size, shape, location, general footprint of the land, but we also have the very helpful plat map, which a lot of people like to look at, that demonstrates, again, basically exactly what you just saw here, this thing. So it should be noted a couple things. Number one, you've got a number of houses within this region, a number of people living out here. Some of these are SFRs. Most of them, however, are mobile manufactured homes, trailers with permanent foundations, etc. Additionally, you've got power at the lot line out here, power really all throughout the area, but power at the lot line right here along its southern border. It should also be noted that there are underground utilities in this region servicing all these homes, servicing this property. And there is actually fencing here along the southern border of the property. So between the fencing here, the neighbors who occupy the eastern end of the property, And then, of course, the road, which is the western end. It's not going to be difficult to figure out your property boundaries. There are stakes out there. I can't promise that they are boundary markers. They look like they are, but I don't know how helpful they will be to the average person. Whatever the case, should be pretty easy to figure out where your property boundaries are. Anyway, if you come down here, guys, to the photo gallery, we can walk through some photos of this area. This, by the way, my photographer was out there about 3 days in a row, so some of these photos, the light quality is going to change. It may be disconcerting, but that's the reason why. Anyway, this is what some of the neighbors' homes look like out here. As you can see, power running to each of them. We'll get to the underground utilities in just a bit. Of course, looking at the homes gives you a fair sense of what you can do out there should you elect to move out there and build, what's acceptable in that region. This is the aforementioned, hang on, I forgot the name, Danley Ranch Road. This is the aforementioned Danley Ranch Road right here. This is the turnoff here onto Old Spanish Trail. As you can see, paved, well-maintained dirt gravel. And as we go through these, you'll also see some of the aforementioned boundary markers that I was talking about, as well as some of the power servicing the homes in the region. This is that fence that goes along the southern end of the property, along that unnamed road just off Old Spanish Trail. And if we continue through these, you will also see the underground utilities that I mentioned earlier. For the record, guys, this property, as you can tell, is a nice chunk of land that's mostly flat, pretty easy to build on. It should be easy to build or to park, whatever you're going to build or park out there. Additionally, most of these photos are kind of visually redundant. You've got power lines everywhere. You've got flat land. So I'm not going to talk it to death. I will let you explore these on your own. Suffice to say, I do want to direct your attention down here to the bottom of the gallery. First off, we're going to have a drone video up down here that you can watch. It'll give you an even better sense of the property, the terrain, the surroundings. But more importantly, I do want to direct your attention here to some of the drone photos that we have in the gallery. We have taken to outlining the property shape in these photos. So first we give you the regular photo, and then we give you the one with the property outline, just to give you a sense of exactly how far you are from the neighbors or how close, whichever you prefer. Additionally, this also gives you a sense of just how pretty the surrounding area is, the nearby mountain ranges that you have off here in the distance, and it gives you a sense even more so of what some of the neighboring properties are like. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, as you go through these, you will see more of the property outline reiterated to give you a sense of exactly how much land you are occupying here. Off in the distance of these photos, you can kind of see Alamogordo out here close by. Now, it should be noted, guys, I've mentioned Tularosa, I've mentioned Alamogordo. Tularosa is a good town for groceries, let's say, but Alamogordo ultimately is going to be the place you go for groceries and supplies. They've got a Walmart, they've got a Lowe's out there. So if you do buy this land, you start building on it, that's probably where you're going to be doing all your hardware runs. Additionally, of course, they've got restaurants, they've got fast food out there, they've got bars, they've got whatever passes for nightlife in Alamogordo, and of course, churches, schools, hospitals, so on and so forth. Anyway, guys, I will let you peruse those on your own time. I do want to direct your attention to this up here. So I mentioned that this is part of the Southern Cross subdivision. Now, if I had to outline on the map where exactly Southern Cross starts and ends, this is not a massive subdivision. It's relatively small as far as subdivisions go. It's not multiple thousands of acres. It's really just a couple hundred acres. And I believe it's confined strictly really to this area right here. Whatever the case, Southern Cross... Well, let me start that over. Whatever the case, Otero County is one of these counties that doesn't have formal zoning rules throughout the county. Now, of course, they defer to their covenants, the covenants and restrictions within a given subdivision, and they defer to the assorted towns and jurisdictions there. So I'm sure Alamogordo has a bunch of zoning rules, but little areas outside of Alamogordo, little suburbs of it, would not. So in those areas, the county tends to defer to the subdivisions and whatever covenants they have. My point, guys, is that the Southern Cross subdivision up here is linked right here in this bullet point. Has some covenants and restrictions. There is nothing strict, nothing onerous about these things. They're all fairly light covenants. They're what I like to call logical, reasonable, good neighbor covenants. Whatever the case, if you click on these, it will bring up this PDF right here where you can read through these. Now, I should mention, guys, covenants are like deed restrictions. So there's no HOA out here. There's no annual dues aside from the taxes you're going to pay to the county. So don't mistake covenants and restrictions necessarily for an HOA. That's not what this is. These are more like deed restrictions. Whatever the case, if you read through this document, it's 3 pages plus 1 page for signatures here, but it's going to give you a fairly good sense of what was enumerated when the subdivision was first created. They have notations here about permanent homes, about manufactured homes, and about modular homes. Each one of these really dictates minimum square footage as well as things like the manufactured home can't be older than 5 years. It has some notations about how they want the thing skirted, so on and so forth. Additionally, it should be noted, guys, that RVs and indiscriminate camping would not be something you could do on this property. They do, however, say that RVs can be used as a temporary domicile while you are building the permanent one. That, of course, is kind of normal. You find that in pretty much all counties. Whatever the case, it should be noted here as far as permanent homes, minimum square footage, 1,200, 1,000, and 1,200. So depending on your definition of a tiny home, you probably can't do that out there. Shipping container home, as long as it's up to building codes, my guess is you can probably do that fairly easily. Additionally, if you read through the rest of these covenants, you'll find things like no noxious or offensive activities shall be carried out. Again, logical good neighbor stuff. Livestock not permitted. Of course, you can own dogs and cats. They happen to mention, however, pigs are not allowed. Pet pigs are not allowed. So on and so forth. Anyway, point being, if you read these, you'll get a sense of exactly how they do want homes and structures built in this region. But that being said, guys, if you come back to the photo gallery down here and you look at some of the homes out here, you know, they say in the covenants that they don't want, essentially, they don't want things to get too messy. They don't want things to look like an eyesore. But if you look at some of these homes out here, it looks like the yards are not well maintained. It looks like they've got some junk piling up in some places. So, you know, who knows how much these covenants are actually enforced, but the point is those are some good rules to acquaint yourself with prior to buying this property or really any property. Anyway, that's the first thing I want to talk about. Second thing I want to talk about, guys, is that, well, let me go back to the pictures of the houses. I was not able to figure out how exactly these homes are getting water service out here. So I'm going to tell you that as a buyer, this is going to be part of your due diligence. I scanned the map. I scanned the map in all of these regions. I looked at numerous photos of houses. I don't see anything with a water meter, but I also don't see wells out here. Now, whenever I see this much of a dense cluster of homes in one region, I don't assume that everybody just, you know, has a well. I think that's unrealistic. If you told me there's a shared well out here that 4 lots are sharing, okay, that makes sense. But for the most part, when I see paved roads, when I see underground utilities and power lines, I assume there's water meters, and yet I don't see water meters on these houses. So that's something that as a buyer, I'm going to encourage you to investigate before purchasing this property. Whatever the case, pretending for 2 seconds, and you can come back here and you can look through the photo gallery and you can look at these houses and you can see that, yeah, you're not going to see water meters either. Additionally, if you go to the drone shots and you kind of look at these, you're also not going to see wells sticking out of the ground out here. So it's kind of a mystery at this point how these homes are getting drinking water and bathing water. I also don't see holding tanks out here. So I really assume there's some sort of city water service in this region. Blah, blah, blah. Pretending for 2 seconds that there is not, guys, I do, however, want to direct your attention to the Office of the New Mexico State Engineer. This is the organization in New Mexico that is responsible for water rights and for well permits. If you click that link, it's going to take you to their website. That's where you could do more research on this sort of thing about getting permitted for a well out there. Of course, on the listing page here, we also helpfully have well drilling info and well drilling permit applications. But as always, we do recommend speaking to local vendors in that region. They're going to be much more familiar with water table depth, with drilling costs, things like that. So if you are seriously looking at the property, those are going to want to be the people that you speak to. Additionally, guys, we've also got a link here for the Otero County Electric Co-op. This is the electric company that services this region. This is a good organization to speak to in advance. Call them up, say, hey, I'm looking to buy some land. You've got some power lines on my property. Practically speaking, logistically speaking, cost-wise, what do I have to know? How much is this going to cost me to run power to the manufactured home I'm going to put on this property, etc.? All good questions to have in advance. Whatever the case, guys, if you, oh, by the way, I do want to mention, guys, so the people who sold us this property had it listed with a realtor for, I guess, years and years and years and years and years. And the realtor couldn't sell it, which is not a surprise, because realtors are, you know, don't get me started. Anyway, the point is, guys, if you do go out to scout the property, you're going to see a realtor sign on the property over here. They do not represent this property right now. This is no longer theirs. We own it. They are not working with us, so calling them will be futile. But the sign was cemented into the earth, so it was very difficult to get out. So the point is, if you do go out there, you scout the land, you're going to want to call our offices about it, go through the website. You're going to not want to call this person. They're not associated with it. Blah, blah, blah. All right, now, with all of that said, guys, if you are interested in purchasing this property, you should know that we closed on this Pioneer Abstract and Title. That means we got title insurance. That means we'll be providing you with a warranty deed. That also means, because it's in that price range of more than $10,000, we're going to encourage you also to close through a title company. If you don't know what that means, basically it's a good third-party intermediary if you don't want to hand your $18,000 directly to us, and I don't blame you. A good third-party intermediary who draws up all the conveyance documents, as well as basically handles your money and does not release it to us until such a time as the property has been deeded into your name. Additionally, they're going to provide title insurance for you, and if you are looking to build on this property, which I suspect you would be, my guess is there's a bank loan involved at some point, and banks will not lend on property that does not have title insurance, so that's one of the benefits. Whatever the case, guys, to get this process started, just come up here, click the Buy Now button. It'll take you to the secure checkout page where we have a non-refundable earnest money deposit. Guys, let me say that again, non-refundable. So you put down the $500 only if you have the whole $18,000. We are not financing this. There's no financing offer. This is a cash transaction. But give us your legal name for deed. Give us the tax address where you want the county to send the tax bill. Agree to the terms of service, and on the very next page, we're going to ask for credit and debit card information. Once you provide that and you put down the $500, we're going to contact you. We're going to talk about how to close the rest of this transaction. If you do want to close through title and escrow, and again, that is what we recommend, we're going to provide you a sale purchase agreement. You sign it, we submit it to them, and they will do the rest. Slowly, but they will do it. For the record, guys, title companies don't do anything until they have a signed contract demonstrating intent from buyer and seller. And we do not draw up contracts until we have earnest money deposits. Now, if you would like to see what that contract looks like in advance of giving us the money, we've got a helpful page up here called How It Works, Buying From Us. Come up there, we'll direct you to this page of our website where we enumerate the different ways in which we close on properties. If I went through fast through this, and I have been accused of that, you can come down here and read more about this process, and you can click on this link here to see what a generic version of one of our standard contracts looks like. This, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. One page for signatures, but if you would like your attorney to review it, that is fine with me. Anyway, with all that said, guys, really nice property right outside Alamogordo, city utilities, and a lot of good things to boast about. So I really like this. I hope you do too. If you have any questions, guys, just leave a comment here on the YouTube. Shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or give us a call, 702-919-7170. Thanks for watching, everybody.